Hey everybody, this is Matthew with Forging Your Legend. Today I want to talk to you about how to think, feel, and act greater than your environment. In other words, to be in the world but not of it. When things are really challenging in the world, how do you keep a balance between being human, being connected to other people, knowing what's going on, but also sticking with your path of healing and transformation? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And my first piece of advice on that is you have to find your personal balance between feeling and, connecting to other people, having an experience of what's going on in the collective, but also choosing your own course and not letting those things dictate how you're going to feel. And I say your personal balance because it's going to be different for different people at different times, okay? One extreme that you might find yourself on is if you are somebody who's really needing to just focus on your own regulation right now, if you're in the midst of trying to restore balance in your nervous system, I want to assure you that it's okay to just totally disconnect from things as much as you can. You are not under any obligation to hold the pain of the world or to be constantly aware of what's going on. There are dark things that are happening. There are bad things that are happening, but what you see on the news is also very skewed, and it can be very much a detriment to your attempts to heal and transform. So you don't have to stay connected to that all the time or at all. It's okay to be in your bubble. Eventually, when you've put on your own oxygen mask, when you've put on your own life preserver, then you can help other people with theirs. But until you take care of yourself, you may not have anything to give other people. And that's okay. You are not actually going to help anybody by having the whole pain of the world held in your body, and you're not dishonoring anybody else's suffering by not suffering with them. Now, with that being said, there is a time to feel. There is a time to let the human emotions be there. When there's loss, when there's tragedy, there are normal feelings of grief and anger and confusion. And although we definitely want to direct our brains and our nervous systems in a positive direction, it can get to a point where you're suppressing if you do that to an extreme. Now, again, sometimes there's a time and a place for that. I spent a long time focusing only on the positive so that I could build my brain and my nervous system back from nothing. But eventually I did connect back to the world. I did connect back to feelings. And so the balance on that is whatever you need in the moment. But usually it's some version of allowing yourself to feel, but not so long or in such a way that you start to be dysregulated by it. For example, if something happens and you're feeling just really, really sad about it, maybe you give yourself 10 minutes to cry, and then you redirect yourself. You go back to focusing on where you want to go, on what's good, on gratitude, on God, on purpose, whatever. Find that balance for you. And it might change from moment to moment. That's okay. Just know that there's a balance. Be in the world, but not of it, as Jesus said. Another thing I'll say is make sure that you focus on structure and routine as much as possible. Here's why. When chaos is happening in the world or in your personal life, that can really dysregulate you. It's a lot harder to stay regulated and feel safe when it feels like the ground under your feet keeps shifting and there's nothing you can rely on. Well, one of the things that you can rely on is the structure that you create and adhere to. And that structure, it can include just your daily routine, but especially it should include things like your rounds and your other brain retraining and healing practices. It should also include, in some form, time that's just you by yourself, just you and God. That's the only energy that's there, nothing else. Because when you are trying to think, feel and act greater than your environment, greater than what's happening in the world, you can't constantly be in a state of reaction. You have to step back and be in a state of just quiet so that you can choose where you want to go and what you want to focus on. So make sure you have some structure and routine to rely on. Another thing on that note, don't believe everything you think. Not everything you think is true, especially when fear and your survival responses and just a lot of dysregulatory stuff is happening. You're not going to be thinking completely clearly, so don't assume that everything you think is necessarily true. Fear has a way of making things seem reasonable, which are actually not reasonable if you can be logical and clear about it. So don't allow yourself to make decisions emotionally if you can help it. Don't jump to any conclusions. Take some time, sit with it, breathe, step away, and don't believe everything you think, okay? Another important thing is going to be to stay connected with real people in real life to the extent that you can. Nothing wrong with connections online, but the more real people in real time right in front of you that you have, the better connected you're going to be to reality. And that's really important, especially in a time of division when a lot of forces are trying to get us to hate each other and say the other is wrong and we're right. And I'm not saying that's never true, but you'll find that a lot of things are caricatured by the media, by social media, by the TV. And when you actually talk to real people, you can connect on a human level. Which brings me to another point, which is to do things that keep you grounded. This is a little bit redundant, but it's important that I focus on this point. Ground yourself however you need to. Structure and routine, connecting with other people, and doing things like, digging in the dirt, taking walks, getting off of your phone, off of social media, and doing things in the real world will be really, really helpful when you are struggling and you're trying to think, feel, and act greater than your environment. Now, another thing really important is to focus on what you can control. I guarantee you there are things that you can control and things that you cannot. Knowing the difference can be a challenge sometimes, even for me, but I want you to focus on what is actually in your power. And when I'm in that kind of situation where I'm feeling, upset or, feeling like there's a lot of fear going around, I try to focus on my purpose, my values, and my vision. My purpose being, what am I here to do? What did God create me, put me on earth to do? I'm going to go do that in whatever way I can. It might be some small thing, just a little thing one day. It might be bigger things other days, but do what I can with that. What are my values? What things do I hold most dear above all else? Maybe it's faith. Maybe it's family. Maybe it's love. Maybe it's kindness. Whatever your values are, those can supersede any difficult situation. What values would you die for, in other words? And then your vision. Where do you individually and where do you collectively as a human race want to go? Hold on to that vision, because they say that one person holding a vision of unconditional love is more powerful than, I don't know what the number is, but like 10,000 people living in fear and hatred. Holding that vision and then acting upon it is huge. It really can make a difference. And that's something that you have control over. Now, another recommendation I have for you is there comes a point where there's only so much you can do. You've done all that you can, and you just have to give the rest to God. Now, I know that's not natural for everybody. It used to be something that I didn't know how to do, so no shame if you're not there, but there does come a time for surrender and giving it to God, trusting that He will take care of things, even if we don't understand the exact way that's going to work out. We trust God. We let it go to Him after we've done all that we can do. And even as we're doing what we're here to do, we trust God in that. One more note before I close this video. Trauma and difficult events can put us into a sort of trance, a trance of fear, a trance of feeling helpless. And so a lot of what we're doing to think greater than the difficult moments that we're in is to break that trance, to be aware of it and to break it. And you break it with love, you break it with action, you break it with continuing to do what you can do. Just be aware that that's something that can happen, that trance can fall upon us when fear happens, especially some big collective event that's really troubling. Just know that you are stronger than that. God is bigger than that, and it's going to be okay. So don't let yourself fall into a trance of fear. Be the co-captain of your ship with God, and things will be okay. So with that, I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please share it with somebody you feel could benefit from it. And give it a like, leave a comment, subscribe, etc. Go to forgingyourlegend.com for more. And if you got anything that I can help with, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here to help. So God bless you. Take care. It's going to be okay.